You will come back, my friends. Skirt.
Oh, my back. My back. Oh, my precious back. Okay, hi everyone. Welcome to a new episode of The Pitch. Ooh, where we're just doing a whole bunch of stuff. Unedited, unfiltered, and blah. Blah. You know the drill by now after... How many episodes? 6? I want to say 6. Maybe, possibly, I don't know. But for anime, my only entry for anime, I want to talk about just a big misstep that came up with the anime, which thankfully also gets pointed out thanks to OVAs and even from that special that showcased Red, which is the misstep of continuing on Ash's story past Sinnoh for the Diamond and Pearl side of events. Jesus Christ, I'm going to be talking a lot for right now because this is my second time recording because I knew you guys would be complaining about the first recording. So here's the whole skinny, as I just had some water. The story that we know today is that Ash goes from being this competent, mature, and very well-developed character to then have a hard reset by the time of Black and White, to then go into X and Y to introduce a childhood crush that we never knew of for Ash that doesn't really feel very fitting after building up the relationship that he may or may not have developed with Misty. Story for another day. To then also go into Sun and Moon, to then have him become the champion of Alola, to then also challenge other champions in journeys, to then lead into the new protagonist for... God, I'm forgetting what this new generation is called. Scarlet and Violet, I think. I don't know, guys. I stopped really playing after I got Reshiram in Black and White, so I do not know a lot what's going on. So, for what I'm saying, you're all just like, yeah, that just seems kind of natural, but why stop at Sinnoh? Well, it's like I said, when you really think about it and go through all of the best things for best writing, how the team was constructed for Ash in the endgame, how Paul was definitely Ash's best rival because it challenged him in different ways that he did not know possible and to develop in ways that he thought could never be achieved after besting the Battle Frontier, the Orange League Championships, beating Gary at long last, and conquering all these different foes left and right. Just felt like there was nowhere else to really go until Paul showed up, making this seasoned veteran actually start to appreciate things, and where he's mixing old and new to become a much more successful person. That in turn makes for a good protagonist angle that we kind of see in other more mature shows for like a young adult audience rather than a show for kids. Granted, I don't think Yu-Gi-Oh! And Pokemon are for kids, but that's a story for another day. So, if we were to do that same vein of, say, JoJo, or maybe a few other animes I know that switch up the protagonists from here and there, but JoJo's the biggest example for many, why couldn't they do that for Ash after Sinnoh? Because of all of stuff that happened, like with the Tobias angle. Well, from this long setup for the big pitch, as it were, let's go over how to fix that whole small bit of an issue here and now. We still have it where Ash loses. That is a very poignant thing to start off with. Ash still loses. But the whole reason for this loss does not deter him from trying to still get a rematch with someone that was so potent and so powerful that they had legendaries on their team. A random character that showed up out of nowhere with legendaries. Maybe they were borrowed from somebody special. Maybe he's a recruiter for something else. We could have built on so much more with that in an OVA, where on the way back to Pallet Town, Ash meets Tobias again, who was so impressed when Sceptile helped bring down one legendary and probably could have beaten another. It becomes very interesting in seeing what a fight between the two of their best three could be. For Ash, at this moment, it could be with Pikachu versus one of those legendaries. It could also be maybe one of his original starters from Kanto, probably Charizard, probably Bulbasaur, or probably Squirtle. All four of them technically have the capacity and have showcased that they can defeat legendaries. Or they could still have it be where Sceptile, who has a record of now beating a legendary with the originals, does have that connection, probably could introduce various different mechanics earlier that would foreshadow where different generations could go, like having a fusion of Ash and Sceptile's connection bonding through between him the same way that the explosive energy of Infernape happens that we never really get to consider. We do that before Ash Greninja ever becomes a thing in this OVA, becomes a brand new marketing tool for later. But I digress. Win or lose in this OVA, Ash gets an invitation to join people that are at the level of champions, or people that have experienced winning championships to become these bigger than life individuals. He can accept the invitation where it's like he has free access to just travel the world and battle stronger and stronger opponents. His team, his whole roster will still get what they need. He can go back and forth between the regions at leisure, do bigger things with gym leaders that can make profitable stuff with the video games a lot bigger and more pronounced to kind of deliver on some promises Game Freak wanted to give fans ever since the innovation process began with Nintendo, and truly push the envelope in what could have been, to then maybe in this OVA we leave breadcrumbs about people that have watched Ash's journey for years, pick up on some stuff, see what they can do to try and see if they themselves can become these bigger than life trainers, people that could have been champions, people that could have led this big hoopla that becomes the whole big thing. The OVA then leads to Black and White. They're just turning off the screen and they're like, I'm gonna find this guy that took down Darkrai and probably got taken down Latios. I keep forgetting if Pikachu did or didn't beat Latios. It's been a long time since I've seen that clip, if not the whole episode in general. So I want like a little bit of leeway with this because it's been a couple of years. But that's how you sow the seed to then replace Ash without replacing Ash. His story continues to where he's in the background. We could do small vignettes showing him on the screen battling bigger and better people with a brand new team that represents the different regions. You can still bring back the old voice actor or voice actors to do different iterations of the past and the present to showcase where the stuff goes. Even do different OVAs like he's going on vacation. Does some stuff with Brock and Misty. Maybe do some stuff for the older fans about where Ash would be probably at maybe age 17 by the time of, I kind of want to say, the Alola region, maybe 17, maybe 18, if we were being generous about the timeline in universe. He goes there with Brock and Misty, where he's now more developed to be kind of like the actual Red of the series, where he's supposed to be on Mount Silver being this enigmatic force, but is so important to the storyverse that people see Ash as one of the greatest of the greats. You can build off on that. We then have it where the veterans have their own 4-episode OVA before we go into Pokemon Journeys to bring back Ash, to then also have it be these other protagonists are going into the Tournament of Champions with all of these people from various different regions competing, but we're following Ash's progress now with the new team that he has acquired, the new team that he has amassed. We then have the veteran fans coming back into the TV show in mass to see if where we last saw him in that original OVA back beforehand is only where Ash's benchmark is, or if the foreshadowing that we've kind of been seeing throughout these other instances, these other shows, can pave the way into something better, if not brighter, to see what his new strategies are, what team he's going to be selecting. Because he doesn't have to just do what we have known. Could showcase some things for the next game coming up from Scarlet and Violet. Maybe he already went into, what's that region called again? Paldea. Yeah, he could have gone to Paldea way before people knew, got his own team there, was going to challenge the gyms at that point to try and assert his own status as a professional at this point, to see what the other gym leaders of the world can do. We don't know, but it's fun to speculate at that point because we haven't seen him in so long. It's more of an enriching experience. We get more from it. To then bring back old fans to do some stuff. Maybe do some anniversary releases about if we can buy these older games, will there now be attachments about like a side story for veteran trainers of different regions going to these regions with the team that you had in old saves. You build off on these things to then make it a more marketable experience for people left and right. It becomes more enriching where Nintendo and Game Freak can probably release a few different games where you still have the E10 for everybody market, but also do a special edition T-rated version of Pokemon, like they should have done fucking years ago, to showcase what you could do with legacy trainers in ways that no one ever could expect. You keep the kid market, get a bit of the older fans back in how they could do stuff in a way that we are now apparently getting in Z&A. Probably could have done it sooner, like how they also promised that MMORPG years ago at this point. A lot of broken promises, Game Freak. So it becomes that whole thing for old fans and new to be in a different way that they can actually feel enriched for being in a fandom that truly does care. And part of a company that wants to reward you for caring. Not just in the gaming card market, not just in fan art competitions, not just in hiring people to be in your animes, because that still feels hollow of just, here are breadcrumbs about trying to pay you back for stuff that does not lead into better business or to delivering on promises to our consumers. It's placating at best. When you reward people for caring about your fucking IP, that's how people see that you're caring. Not just settling for stuff of saying, oh, it's small innovation stuff that we're now showcasing in games that we could have done more on in other instances, but we're not gonna do it unless we're seeing it like we're losing money by just only using certain placating tactics. But again, I'm also in an environment / society where people are just gonna be like, oh, that's negative Nancy talk. You have no idea what you're saying. Truly, someone that has been at this whole thing for decades does not see bullshit coming from a mile away. But sure, guys, I'm just being pessimistic, not a fucking realist. But I digress. That's just the whole thing of an easy fix. We just get that easy fix for the story, the way they handle stuff. It then translates better in marketing. It translates better for the developing team. You can also potentially, and I do say potentially, have an entire creative team get more spread time off to make more intricate designs for things, not fucking ice cream cones as Pokemon or some goddamn keys as Pokemon. I could go on because certain choices and certain designs are very fucking dumb. Could probably have done a lot more innovative stuff if you gave the creative team more room to grow to then do better. Trust me, I know. But that's all I'm saying. Because at this point, I know a lot of people have clicked off because they don't want to finish a video because they're afraid of a long runtime. But at the same time, this is a show where I just shoot the shit. You guys can agree or disagree. I don't care. You do what you want to do. And for me, I'm just going to be recording the next episode of The Pitch while I'm working on all of my other stuff that takes a lot longer than just me sitting in front of a microphone looking at reruns of shit that I'm watching on different streaming platforms at the same time. So yeah, I'm just gonna be a little sassy about it while we get to the motherfucking credits. 'Cause I'm nice like that to at least be this much of a petty bitch and be honest about it. 'Cause I'm still gonna be that petty boy.
Boom, you feel it when I walk in the room. The shiver up your spine as I loom. The string puller like harps that's keeping y'all in tune.